And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to talk about Carson Wentz, his comments on, joining the Kansas City Chiefs, now taking on this new role as the backup quarterback. And you probably notice you hear a different bark than you usually hear, and that is because we are watching my cousin's dog as well. So we got two dogs here, and that's why you hear him barking now. So two barks. Oh, really? You're just hearing him now. But yeah, we got two dogs now, so double the barking, which is just great. And as I'm coming back from break, I'm like, please just let me get through this final segment before you start barking. He probably wants to go out for a walk. Give my dad some love. He's the one that takes him out walking. But anyways, let's get into the topic here. So, talking about Carson Wentz. And, yeah, Carson Wentz is taking on a new role. And, it's weird because I was like, last year, because we had a ton of injuries to the quarterback position. Now, he did eventually get signed, but he got signed to a team that, their starting quarterback was healthy pretty much the whole year. He did, right? Stafford missed one game last year. He didn't play in two. Wentz started the final game against the 49ers. But Brett Rippon started that game against the Packers. But that probably gave the Rams the indication, like, all right, we need to upgrade the backup quarterback. At backup quarterback because, if Stafford gets hurt again, they don't want to see Brett Rippon starting. But anyways, so, I was kind of like campaigning for Carson Wentz to get a job somewhere. Really, I wanted the Jets to get him. I did. I wanted the Jets to get him because Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, and of course Zach Wilson. I'm like, you're telling me Carson Wentz couldn't do any better? And you would think like, why? You think Carson Wentz is like, still got it? No, Carson Wentz is years removed from when he played like an MVP candidate. Well, he was going to be the MVP in 2017, and then he got hurt, unfortunately, tore his ACL. But, I mean, Carson Wentz was better than every quarterback the Jets had, other than Aaron Rodgers, of course. You're telling me he couldn't start for the Jets, but, there's other stuff, the locker room presence, things like that. So I get that, but, I mean, come on. You're telling me you couldn't give him a shot? Carson Wentz right now is better than Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, and Zach Wilson. And if Carson Wentz ended up coming in and being the starter, the Jets, I think, win a few more games. But that's just my opinion. So I think, and he still wants to be a starter, but I think he's doing the right thing. And I think being the backup, especially on a team like the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, I think that's a good way to go about it. Because you know what? Knock on wood, Patrick Mahomes, hopefully he doesn't get hurt. But that's a good situation to be in, is with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think being the backup, I think that's where I think that's what he is right now at this point. I think, he's backing up Mahomes. He's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL. Because I think he can still win you games. It's just, to me, I don't think he's a starter anymore, a full-time starter. But this is what he had to say via ESPN. He said, "We're still early. We're only in here a handful of hours every day and a couple of days a week, and it's not quite the grind that it will be, so that'll keep evolving and kind of how I find my place, so to speak. But Pat and I already have a great relationship, and that'll keep growing, and I'll keep finding ways I can help. I'll find a way to help him whatever way I can, whether that's off the field, on the field, whatever." Andy Reid talked about Carson Wentz. He said, "Carson, I know, did a nice job when he worked with the Rams last season and had a nice game for him, actually when he played for them right at the end there. We welcomed him in. We talked to him last year when we were talking to Blaine, and he was holding off for an opportunity to possibly start. It was good to get him in this position, and if he has an opportunity to play, he has an opportunity to play. Carson looks sharp. He's picking things up fast, smart guy, and he fits in well. Seems like a heck of a person, and he's good in that quarterback room." And he also said, this is what Wentz said now, "It's different. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can, formulate a relationship with all these guys, and just keep getting better to the field or on the field. You've got to always be ready to go when called upon, so it's no different in that regard. He spoke highly of Mahomes. He just processes the game really quickly. He calls protections. He's in and out of the huddle and throwing anticipatory throws. All that stuff you see from afar, but it's just fun to see it, and in some respects, just see different windows on plays that maybe you didn't see before because he's playing so quickly out there. So, yeah, I mean, it's speaking highly of Mahomes, says they have a good relationship. They're developing a good relationship very quickly here. And, yeah, I mean, I think it's smart. Again, it's smart of him, I think, to embrace this backup role because I think that's what he is at this point. I mean, I think he could be maybe like a bridge quarterback where, like, he starts and then, if you have a young guy that you want to give some time to develop, then maybe that's a good spot for him too. I don't know. That's just me. But I think over the course of a full season, I don't think he's that guy. And I think really what did him in was that final, he was a starter for the Commanders for a little bit, but the year before that with the Colts. Because the Colts, they looked like a team that was destined for the playoffs. Late in the year, they got hot. They started off the season rough, but then they got hot. Jonathan Taylor was playing well. Wentz was playing well. And then they lost that game to the Raiders, and then they just, I don't know what happened in Jacksonville, but they just did not show up for that game. And Wentz played awful. I really think that's what did him in. Because had he made the playoffs with the Colts, probably still the starter for the Colts, I would imagine. Depending on how the playoff game would have went. But, yeah, the wheels really fell off for the Colts. Really for Wentz when he was, Wentz was kind of responsible for that because he was terrible those last couple of games. But, yeah, he got that opportunity with the Commanders, but, it just didn't really amount to anything. And then, he was backing up Stafford a little bit last year. He won that game against the 49ers, again, against their backups, but still, got the win. And now he's backing up Patrick Mahomes. So, and I think Carson Wentz still deserves a roster spot in this league. And like I said, I think, right now he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL. Because he can still win you games. Now, you don't want to see Carson Wentz playing because that means Patrick Mahomes is hurt. But I think he's in a good situation, and he still wants to be a starter. So maybe, he takes this opportunity, he gets a chance to start elsewhere, and maybe we see the Carson Wentz that we saw back when he was with the Eagles. Probably not, but, maybe he takes advantage of this opportunity, and, he gets another shot at being a starter. But, yeah, it's just, he's one of those big what-ifs, because if he doesn't get hurt against the Rams and tears his ACL, who knows how his career unfolds. But it just seems like even after that, he's just a guy that has dealt with a ton of injuries. The one playoff game that he finally got an opportunity to start in, he got hurt like on the first drive against the Seahawks. And then Josh McCown had to finish the game. He just couldn't catch a break with injuries. And it's just what could have been. Because if he doesn't get hurt against the Rams, does he go? Is he still the starter for the Eagles at this point? Because the COVID year, that was it for him. They ended up switching over to Jalen Hurts. And he ended up getting traded to the Colts. And that was with Frank Reich as the coach. And, Carson Wentz had his best year with Frank Reich when he was the offensive coordinator. But and Wentz, played well, but towards the end it just the wheels fell off. And now he's been bouncing around from team to team now. The Colts, Commanders, and now the Rams, and now the Chiefs. So that's just how it is at this point. And I don't think he's going to get that opportunity to be the full-time starter, but who knows? But at least he's embracing this role, And I think really, if you're at this point in your career where, you're kind of not looked at as a starter and you could get an opportunity, to at least be a backup, I think you got to take advantage of that opportunity. You got to take whatever opportunities you can get. And yeah, it might not be the one you want, but, you're on a winning team. And if your name is called upon, you're in a good situation. And I think the Chiefs' offense right now is, it's definitely a lot better than what it was last year on paper. And I actually did watch, I'll talk about it tomorrow. Actually, also, first, I watched the new Hard Knocks episode with the Giants. And they actually had, Xavier Worthy running the 40-yard dash in it. And, that's who's going to be a part of the Chiefs. And listen, it was funny because after his 40-yard dash, right, he breaks the record. They're like, oh, he's a guy that's going to get taken at the end of the first round. Sure enough, what happened? The Chiefs traded with the Bills, and they got him. So the Chiefs are getting that. You got Marquise Brown, that's a fast receiver as well. This offense is going to be better than what it was last year. They're not going to be struggling as much as they did. So, but, hopefully the only time we see Carson Wentz as the quarterback of the Chiefs is in garbage time. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about what Wentz had to say. Do you think he'll get another opportunity as a starting quarterback? Again, maybe to be a bridge guy, but yeah, in terms of being like a full-time starter, yeah, I think those days are over for him, unfortunately. So that's pretty much it for the show for today. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows. We greatly appreciate it. So yeah, that is all the time that we have for today. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.